Welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. You're going to say to yourself, why are you doing your weekly recap? It's the middle of the week. I'm done for the week. I took off Sunday morning. I had a preloaded trailer. I took that to Tennessee. I did a live unload, did a live load, headed straight back. Got home Tuesday evening about 5 o'clock. So let's go over the numbers real quick. Easy week, 29 total hours. That's total. That's drive time. That's waiting to get unloaded. That's going to my next load, waiting to get loaded, and then doing a live unload and taking the trailer, the loadout trailer back. So that's everything included. Every minute I spent working. 29 total hours. I call this an out and back. I love these little out and backs. To make these work, you either have to do one of two things. You have to have an extremely good paying load going out if you're going to a bad area, or you take a good paying load to a good area and get a good paying load coming back. However you want to do it. It doesn't even have to be paying good. I mean, just get on the road and get those wheels turning. 2 loads, 1,512 miles total. It comes out to be about $292 for all miles. $4,425 gross. You look at this number and you say, oh, it's not a great number, but if you include all the deadhead miles in there, that looks pretty good. $4,425 gross, which comes out to be my happiness equation right here, efficiency equation, $152 per hour. Now, my normal weeks, they're around that. The little route that I normally do around the house comes out to be about $160 an hour, so it pays a little bit more, but I'll take $152 an hour. Now this, if you guys don't know, I started doing this, I just call it my happiness equation. This, I take into account my total gross and how many hours I spent getting that money, not just the miles I drove. That is very, very misleading. I see a lot of YouTubers out there doing that, saying, oh, I made $8 a mile. Well, you spent 3 hours loading, 3 hours unloading, or you had to, be on detention. And that $1,000 you made in a day, this efficiency number goes way down because you're sitting there and you're waiting to get unloaded or what have you. So you can't just take in the miles and the rate per mile you're getting. I use all my hours and my gross. So $152 an hour. Since I started doing this, that's pretty average of what I've been getting. I don't waste much time. I don't take those crazy loads that they say they're going to pay $10 a mile. If they're paying a lot of money per mile, there's a reason. Like I said, I took off on Sunday morning, drove to Tennessee. The next day I picked up, drove back, and dropped my loadout trailer Tuesday and got home around 5 o'clock, so 3 full days. My expenses for the week, my big expense is fuel, always, $705. I got about 7.5 miles to the gallon for the whole week. 2 very light loads. Insurance, I just rounded it up. I say $400 a week, and I put etc. So I'm adding all the little things like my ELD, couple of load boards, all this little stuff. But I don't mess with the insurance. Insurance is a whole other animal. You guys can do that. So hopefully you guys can see what I got over here. My net, what I took home, $3,087 if I did all my math right. When I was writing this down, I was thinking, man, 3 days, is that doable? Can people survive on that? $3,000 a week. I know a lot of people who wish they could make that in a month. So I started doing, what would that come out to be in a year if you did 44.25 gross per week and only worked 3 days a week. Obviously, it's a little over $200,000. A while back when I made my Mercer videos, I had so many haters that were over at Mercer telling me how great it is and how much money they make, and they always want to point to that $200,000 mark and say, I'm going to gross over $200,000. I even had one guy say, yeah, I'm going to gross over $200,000 and I'm home 4 days a month. You know, I can work 12 days a month and make over $200,000. $200,000 really doesn't mean a lot when rates go up and rates go down. You know, it's about the quality of the load you're getting, how much you work, how much you want to work. But, you know, that's the freedom of having your own authority. Pick and choose, take more of that gross home. So I did some more calculations. Hopefully you guys can see this. Working 3 days a week, that's only working 156 days a year. So I'm actually taking 7 months off in a year. 7 total months that I'm not working, that I'm spending here at the house doing what I want to do with this $3,000. And another thing about this, you know, grossing $4,400 a week, or, you know, netting $3,000 a week, the more of this you make, the more you're going to get into taxes. So you might have those guys that are, you know, grossing $30,000 a month, $40,000 a month, and you guys know taxes. The more you make, the more they want to take. So for some people, it might be a balance. Make just enough to keep their truck running, keep maintenance going on their truck, bring enough home to pay their bills, put a little bit in the bank, and not pay any taxes. So that's, you know, that's something that some people think about. I don't think about this at all. I think about freedom. It feels so good to go where I want to go, when I want to go. I'm making the decisions, right or wrong. You know, I'll live with the consequences. But yeah, for working 3 days in a week, 29 hours, bring home $3,000. Of course, I'm not counting maintenance or anything like that. So at some point, I'll have to do an oil change. I'll have to repair something, and it'll come out of this. But not necessarily till the end of the year do I even have to think about that, until I'm doing taxes and I say, hey, I've got all these receipts from maintenance. But anyway, yeah, freedom is everything. It is worth it. I've seen several guys on YouTube. I started following their channels and they just gave up on it. They didn't want to do it. But it's worth all the headaches to get to this point where you can, you know, I could have done half of this, think about it, and brought home over $1,000. Would that have been enough? $1,000 a week to do your maintenance on your truck, pay your bills, keep up with, you know, your all your expenses. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on, you know, how much your expenses are. But for me, this is a great week. I worked 3 days. I chose which 3 days I wanted to work. Another thing I'll add here is, you know, the same, you know, YouTube guys I'm talking about that always say, yeah, I made $8 a mile, $9 a mile. Let's see if we can do a real quick look here. Hopefully I can explain this. Real quick. Okay, let's do something here. Since I see a lot of YouTube guys saying, oh, I made, you know, I'm making $8 a mile on every load, $9 and $10 a mile on every load. Let's discuss that for a minute and see really if that's the way that you want to go about it. Because I think it's a little dishonest. Not necessarily dishonest in every case, but it's not efficient in most cases. And let me show you why. Most of those high paying loads, if you're going to get, you know, 6, 7, 8, you know, up to $10 a mile for those loads, normally there's a catch and normally they're between 50 and 150 miles. You're not going to find a $10 load going 1,000 miles. They're not there. But people pay a premium to have these, because they know people don't want to waste their whole day going 100 miles for $2 a mile or $3 a mile. These big, wonderful rates that these people are saying they're getting, they're not going very far. Usually, 50 to 150 miles. If you're lucky, if you can get one going over 200 miles. But let's just keep this simple and say you get a load going 100 miles and it's paying $10 a mile. Let's just use really easy figures here. The thing that you're not seeing, they're getting that $10 a mile. Man, that sounds great. I can find these loads quite a bit, but they're not efficient. You're not making the money that you think you are if you value your time. And here's why. So you're making $1,000 off this load, and you say, "Oh, I made $1,000 a day." Right, a whole day. So let's say you're going 100 miles. It takes you, I'm going to use very easy numbers here, very conservative numbers. It takes you, say, an hour to get over there and to this load. You're pulling a van. It takes you, let's be conservative and say it takes you 2 hours to get in and out of the place. It takes you another 2 hours to go 100 miles to deliver it. It takes you another, let's say, an hour and a half to get unloaded, and then it takes you an hour and a half to get back home. I think these are very conservative numbers. That's, nothing going wrong. That's, the prime scenario you want. Unless you've got a distribution center 5 miles from your house. But let's just take these 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours you spent total doing that. Now, when these YouTubers are saying, "Yeah, I made $10 a mile," everybody thinks, "Oh my God, $10 a mile, man, you can make lots of money doing that." But what they're not saying is it took them 8 hours in the best case scenario to get that. So how efficient is that? When I did this week, I did my numbers. I went out there 3 full days. I did that on my schedule, nobody else's. When you're trying to do this, trying to get $10 a mile, you very seldom can you do that on your schedule. And here's why. Because those loads are not out there all the time. You have to sit at the house, refresh that load board, call on loads, put bids in on loads, and wait for the bid to come back. I mean, you're sitting there and you're kind of a prisoner in your own home waiting for that load, that special load that pays those big rates. And you're not doing it on your own terms. You're waiting for other people. You're back at those places, where they're telling you where to go and what to do. They're dictating to you what you're going to do. You're a prisoner. You're sitting there. I've tried to do this, and it's just not what I want to do. I don't want to sit there on the couch all day. Go, "Oh my God, I can't get that load." And then the next day, "Oh, that one's paying $3, but it's just not quite enough." It's very misleading because they're not telling you how much time they're sitting there, refreshing that load board. "Oh, I'm going to put in a bid on this one. Well, I have to wait and see if they accept my bid. Oh, they didn't accept my bid. On to the next one. I'm going to make 10 phone calls, negotiating, what have you." But at the end of the day, I'm not counting all that waiting time, that negotiating time, or anything like that, although you should. I'm just calculating how much time it takes you to leave the house, go get the load, and get back to the house. 8 hours. 8 hours to make $1,000. Now, I don't have my calculator. Obviously, I'm using my phone. But let's see, that's 100. What am I left over? So $120 something per hour that you're making That's your efficiency. That's how much you're making for every hour you spent doing this load. And like I said, you're sitting at the house, you're flipping that load board, you're refreshing, you're calling on loads, you're putting in bids, trying to get this $10, and that's dictating what you're doing. That big number right there you're trying to get is dictating to you what you're doing. This right here took me 5 minutes to find this load. It didn't pay even $4 a mile. But I grabbed this load, I saw it paid a decent rate, and I said, you know what, I don't have anything to do Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. Let me run do this load. I found another load coming back within 20 minutes of looking for another load. I got back. I worked on my schedule. I worked Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and on Tuesday when I was coming back, I wasn't looking for another load. I saw a couple of emails, people offering me loads, but I was like, you know what? I've done well this week. Let's just go to the house. And when you're doing this over here, you're sort of a prisoner because, yeah, you made that $10 a mile, but that's not enough to last you all week. You got to do it over again the next day, and the next day, and the next day until you hit that, maybe hit that mother load and get that $8 a mile for something going, over 200 miles if you can find it. And I will guarantee you, if you saw those, if you looked into it at all, in any depth, any of these guys that are saying they're making $6, $7, $8 a mile and they're trying to prove to you they can book these loads like this, there's always a problem with these loads. That's why they're paying so good. Either they pick up in the middle of the night and they have an appointment to deliver the next day, or you're going to be sitting and waiting for a long time. There's always something, or otherwise you're not going to get $10 a mile. That's my rant. But yeah, $120, the efficiency number here, $152, and I did it on the days that I wanted to do, and I'm not sitting around the house or worried about putting bids in, calling, negotiating, and waiting for that golden load right there. Let's do a quick load board look here for my guys up in Canada. I had somebody request a load board look. I've never looked for loads in Canada. I did a real quick search. Apparently there's none on the DAT board, or there's none right now, but Truck Stop has a few. So let's look at them real quick. Let's try Calgary. I think is one of the places he wanted to look there. Looking out about 300 miles. Power only. Let's look for power only first. Okay, a few loads here. So this one, Sedgwick, is going to Wyoming, 1,000 miles. Paying $360 a mile, something like that. Not bad. It's a light load. Doesn't have any. Oh, it's 11 foot wide. That's why. I would definitely ask for a lot more on that one. But here's one that's 15,000 pounds. Not paying great. Around, let's see, what is that? 6,100, 270 a mile. This is a different one. Let's look down here. See this special information? It says COD load. That means they're gonna. You don't have to factor nothing. You'll get a check when you get to the end, when you deliver this load, cash on delivery. So I'm kind of weary of those things. I see a lot of them where they want you to take trailers down to the border towns, Laredo, El Paso, and they'll pay you cash on delivery. Kind of weary of that. But this one, it's not a terrible load. I really, like I said, I haven't looked into Canada loads, so I don't know how, if there is a different load board up there that's more popular than the most popular ones here in the States. But, this will get you down to Texas and probably find something going back to Canada. Now, the thing about foreign drivers, anybody coming, a driver that's in Mexico or in Canada, they can bring freight into the United States and they can take freight straight back out, but they can't do loads in between. They can't take one from one state to another. They have to go straight back out. But here's one, Montana going back into Canada. Tow away straight through, so it's just an empty trailer. But let's look at another area. How about Montreal? I don't know anything about Canada, but let's take a quick look. Okay, yeah, a lot in New York, Vermont. Okay, here's one coming out of New York going into Canada. That's a pretty good paying load right there. 246 miles. Nothing special about it. Here's another one. So there's lots of those coming out of New York going into Canada. And not much coming out of Canada. So let's change this up a little bit. Let's look for van loads. There should be more to choose from there. Like I said, you guys from Canada, don't get depressed, because I don't even know if this is the best load board for you guys to be looking on. There's probably a much better one that Canadians use up there. But here we go. Here's one. But see, these don't have rates on them, so you can't tell much about them. Sherbrooke to Hagerstown, Maryland. Here's one. Is that Joliet or Joliet? I can't see. To Tennessee, 1,100 miles. Here's one from Quebec to Kissimmee. You should get a very good rate on that one. Cornwall to Coldwater, Michigan. So yeah, there's quite a few vans coming out of there. Haven't seen anything. Well, here's the first one from Canada to Canada. 119 miles. Montreal to Memphis. Just flipping through here so you guys can take a quick look at what's available up there. What other towns are in Canada? I don't know my Canadian towns. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Okay, here we go. Carrot River going to Gretna, Nebraska. It's not a great rate, but it's $2 a mile. I don't know what rates are supposed to look like in Canada. To Des Moines, about $2 a mile. To Oregon, no rate on that one. To Washington, to Arizona. So yeah, there's definitely freight coming out of Canada coming down here. So here's a decent rate. Carrot River, there must be some kind of, let's see if it says what kind of freight this is. It doesn't really say, but there's definitely some kind of facility in Carrot River shipping stuff. So if you live near Carrot River, you're in a good spot. Paying almost $3 a mile going to North Dakota. Yeah, let's see. I just hate it when people don't put their rates on here. So lots of stuff coming out of Saskatchewan. There's one going Canada, a few right there. And like I said, I looked on the DAT board, didn't see anything, but it doesn't mean anything. Like I said, I really don't know if these are the best boards to use for for Canadian freight. But I do see quite a few loads coming out of there. $2 a mile. I mean, that's not great. Boy, a lot of loads coming out of the Carrot River. I'm imagining that some of these, let's see, no, they're all going to different places. I was going to say they're relisting them. There's a good rate. Regina going to Idaho, over $3 a mile. So man, there's let's see, there's 104 loads coming out of there. That's not a very good rate, but it's only taking up 20 feet of your van. So here's one that, if you guys are new to pulling a van, sometimes you'll get some LTL loads, which means less than a truckload. So you can pick up this load. It's going to take up, like they said right there, 20 feet of your trailer. It only weighs 22,000 pounds. So if you can find another load going in the same direction, you got 30 feet of trailer there, and another over 20,000 pounds. You could put another load on there and double up on that and deliver both of them. So there you go. I'm sorry it wasn't more in depth, but if you're in Canada, it looks like you need to move to Carrot River to get some good loads. There's definitely a good one right there. And of course somebody wants to call right when I'm doing this. Oh, that's coming out of Montana. Never mind. Total Quality Logistics, they're one of the biggest movers on these load boards. They have, besides JB Hunt and Schneider, they probably are up there with the most loads. Like a lot of loads going into those northern states, not a whole lot. Here's one that's either a very short run or it's a round trip going somewhere. It doesn't say. Awesome. That's what you get out of TQL, Total Quality Logistics. They don't put much information in there. They want you to call. And that's it. Okay, let's take a look at, how about Ottawa? Well, where is it? Okay. And I may be doubling up on these places because I don't know where they're at in Canada, but there's quite a few loads coming out of Ottawa. 1,500. Let's look at Power Only real quick coming out of Ottawa and see if it's any better. Oh yeah, there's quite a few loads. Well, again, they're coming over from New York. Okay, we're going to have to go back to the van loads. So I'm going to scroll through here so you guys can take a quick look. There's a lot of van loads. Let's do a filter on here. Let's say we want to make at least $2,000. See if anything pops up. There we go. All right. That's going from New York, New York, New York. Here we go. Franklin to Detroit. $5 a mile. That's more like it. Doesn't say anything special on it. But let's look at another one. Here we got over $2 a mile. That's Canada to Canada. Montreal Nord to Pendergrass, Georgia. almost $3 a mile, 270 something. Here's a real good one, $3 a mile, going 30,000 pounds, going from Montreal to, where is it going? Vancouver, Washington. Don't see anything special with that one, but that's a good load. A lot of these are coming out of the border there. Montreal going to Omaha, not a terrible rate. Minnesota, man, that's one thing you got to get used to when you get your own authority. You'll be getting dozens of calls every day, all day, from people wanting to sell you insurance and dispatch services and all kinds of crap. There's another good rate right there. It's almost $6 a mile. See what it's all about. Load Friday 8 to 3 p.m. pays $3,200 plus van only. What's your rate? So they're willing to negotiate. Jump on that all day. Looks like, well, there's New York again. Here we go. So some good van rates coming out of Canada. Another $3 a mile load, a very light load. So that's just a small taste. Some very good paying loads coming out of certain areas, and some areas just don't have much. That's kind of what I expected. But I'll try to include some towns in Canada on my regular load board looks.